Dominic if he is ready. Mr. Dominic, please.
We'll try again. I hope this works this time.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much. I think we were at the dark side of the moon last time. Can you see me? Can you see the screen?
Yes, yes, if you can share the presentation, please.
Can you see the screen? We're having, again, difficulties with the share screen. It's obviously our network.
Yeah, we got it now. We got it.
You've
Please
got
go
it?
ahead. Yes.
Because yeah, okay. I'm assuming that everything is okay. Can you see the quote on the screen?
We can see the first slide, which says district cooling.
No, that's not the. We're not. Can you see any movement of screen?
I think this is being done by the organizers. If you just tell us, we'll go to the next slide. You just tell.
All right.
Yes, now we are in the quotations.
Okay. Well, to collect my thoughts again. My name is Dominic McPolin. I'm the Chief of the Central Planning Office with charge of all infrastructure coordination in Bahrain. We have a saying that generals who lose touch with the front line lose wars. We are in the front line with infrastructure.
Hello. Can we have Dr. Majdi, please? I think we lost Mr. Dominic
Are we
again.
back again?
Yes, we are back. Please wait. Yes.
Okay,
yes,
let's
Mr.
see if we
Dominic.
can fly through. I really want to say a few things, and if I have the opportunity to this technology to allow me to say a few things to you, and I'll do it as quickly as possible. The true scarce resource in the near future will be human attention. This is such an important point. We have so much information, so many distractions, overload of information. What we need to do is to keep a continuous attention to what we're doing. And I think that's the advice to anyone who asks, what can I do? Next slide. You know, when I heard that Notre Dame Cathedral was being refurbished, I said to my wife, I hope they pay attention because they will burn the building down. And it happened. Someone did not pay attention. Next slide, please. I have no control. Please, next slide. So we have the warning on global warming. We all know what is the situation. We are all accepting the science. We move forward. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. it means absolute drastic change, not something that's slow burning. It has to be drastic. It has to be immediate. It has to be total. It has to be really, really, really at a level that is unprecedented to cut this carbon output. Next slide, please. Smart cities don't grow on trees. I say this because there is nothing organic or natural or normal about this. It is hard work. We have to work together. We have to put effort into making these smart cities. And I want to take an idea of district cooling and lead you through an experience that will illustrate some of the key fundamental changes that are happening but need to accelerate. Next slide, please. This is not a smart city. The smart city's individual solutions to energy is not smart. Next slide, please. 60%, as you said in your introduction, 60% of our electricity is for cooling. These are heaters in the street making a microclimate. This is an individual response. It is not a smart city. Next. Next. If we could just fly through these slides a little bit more quickly. I don't have control, but we'll just keep banging away. District energy in cities endorsed by UN Habitat report. I would advise everyone to read this report. It is clear that district energy represents a significant opportunities for cities to be climate resilient, resource efficient, and low carbon pathways. District energy, heating or cooling. Let's move. Bahrain's been doing it since 1948, a district cooled town. I think, I can't find any other examples. I think Bahrain actually was the first in the world to have a town district cooled, and that was in 1948 in Awali. Next. Next. Next slide. So we have, and you've heard the National Energy Efficiency Action Plan. You see district cooling is there, it's in the plan, it sits. Next. Next. The specific objective for district cooling, you'll see the lead agency is my own agency, CPO. And really, it's to remove the barriers to a business, to an investment. We heard about the banks and the green funds. What's happening? What are the barriers to that kind of investment? And that's specifically the focus of the actions and the energy efficiency plan in Bahrain. Next. Next, please. So why are we doing this? Why are we looking at this business, district cooling? Well, its benefits to government are enormous. Energy efficiency, demand, carbon footprint. Actually, it's our credibility in pursuing environmental sustainable future. It's all there. It's a package. It's very, very important to government. And guess what? It actually saves money for the government. It actually has an economic driver. Next. Next. What's the benefits to the industry? Well, industry is here to make money. It's here to make profit. And how do you do that? You secure long-term investment. You secure return on investment. You help to provide the business environment for confidence in investing in district cooling. And what's the benefits to the customer? The developer saves 10, 15% on the capex of his building. He has no maintenance. We have better buildings. In Bahrain, we have the World Trade Center. We have the Financial Harbor, all different architectural styles brought about by not having to have plant rooms on the roof and chillers on the roof. So it's liberating, it's flexible. So there are benefits to everyone. It's a really big package for government, the industry, the investors, the banks, and for customers. Next. Next. It goes without saying, the efficiency is there for all to see, and it's something that needs to be captured. The more efficient we are in our cooling of that 60%, the better it is. And these figures are out of the box cooling options. When you're out of the box on the street in the dust after so many years and perhaps not maintained, those numbers are much, much higher. So district cooling is consistent, and it is consistently at that level of efficiency. 0.9 is being kilowatts per ton of refrigeration is being achieved in Bahrain Bay as we speak, and getting better. Next. Next. So SWOT, we have problems. We have problems in the private sector investing. We have to deal with those. We have to look at the business environment. We have to capture the benefits. This is our SWOT analysis. I won't go through it. We don't have time, particularly with this the stuttering presentation, but we'll get there. This is the situation in Bahrain as it stands. We went from 0 district cooling in 2007 to a substantial, meaningful district cooling load in 2021. Next. Next slide. So we looked at this. If that capacity was used to full capacity, we would probably in the region of a saving to the government of 47 million dinars per year with absolutely no capital investment. Let the private sector deliver on the sustainability, on all of those benefits to customers, to government. Just let it happen and make the circumstances to make that happen. And we save almost 50 million dinars per year simply by allowing this to happen. Next, please. So the implementation plan is very simple. It's top down, change the business model, and that's very important, and revitalize what capacity we have. And we meet in the middle, keep going. We have the private sector, public sector master plans, private sector master plans, and it's all about meeting from the top down and the bottom up. This is our strategy under the leadership of the Sustainable Energy Authority. Next. Next. So this is our vision. District cooling is an important contributor, increased energy efficiency. Next slide, please. Next slide. Our mission is very simple. Make district cooling a normal infrastructure like electricity, water, sewage, drainage. This is my formula for change. It's innovation over application. There's no point having excellent innovation with lots of application. We need the R in the formula. We need regulation in order to achieve the change. And that's where we're coming from very strongly in Bahrain. So next slide, please. We want to look at this R. That's what we're working on. R, we're looking at consumer protection. We're looking at technology and energy efficiency. But most importantly, we're looking at the business environment in our regulations to change the business model of district cooling, reduce the capex. When a private developer saves money by not putting in his electrical mechanical budget, that saving must be shared by reducing the capex for the district cooling. That's a simple formula that can only be achieved through regulation, as an example. Next, please. Next, please. It's very tough because this is different this time. Most utilities are public utilities moving to the private sector. This is a private sector business moving in the opposite direction to meet social, environmental, government objectives. So it's a different type of polarity in this regulation. Very, very complex, but we are confident that the regulations that we have developed in Bahrain achieve this. Next, please. Next. This is the big lesson we have learned. It's no point just having regulations for district cooling. They must be synchronized with other sets of regulations. For example, urban planning regulations, real estate regulations, infrastructure regulations through CPO. Next. Next. It's this integration that's very important. Here's an example of the planning integration. Dr. Mirza, when he was Minister of Electricity, issued an order designating an area as a district cooling area. This is an urban planning regulation related to the district cooling regulations. It means that any developer within this area must use district cooling and can only exempt themselves by making an application for exemption. It's a very important parallel and integrated regulatory environment. And the point I'm trying to make here is it has to be a holistic approach, multiple streams in terms of the regulation. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Mr. Dominic, can we conclude in 5 minutes time, please?
Yes, we can. If we keep going here and speed up the slides, we can easily do that. This is the example of the minister's order. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Real estate regulations. One of the big problems is the district cooling provider makes the agreement with the developer. The problem is when the owners association comes in, you have a group of individuals, not a developer, and there is a problem with the novation of the contract from the developer, the builder of the apartment blocks, to the owners association. That is something that has to rest in the real estate regulations of Bahrain. And that's something that has to be addressed and is being addressed. Next, please. Living as an infrastructure, a private infrastructure with your brothers and sisters in the public infrastructure, we have introduced technical interface agreements with the district cooling companies to regulate, again, parallel regulations to district cooling regulations. Next, please. This is living through those regulations, private assets in public land. Next, please. Next. This is substantial private assets in public land. Very, very big regulatory environment to allow this type of good neighbor. Next. So, cut a long story short, what's good for the company, what's good for the country, what's good in transparency in reconciling the objectives. You know, why are we in this traffic jam? Well, some private company is doing roadworks. What? What is their ability to perceive the private sector working in government objectives? We have here, I heard Stefano talking about catching the wave. That's exactly what we are, if we pay attention. I say pay attention and get a surfboard. This is what I call a surfboard strategy. Catch the wave or drown. This is the time to actually see what we need to do in terms of staying focused. And if you're on a surfboard, the principle is you have to pay attention all the time, all of the time. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. 2 slides left. COVID and cultural change. I think the big thing that happened with COVID is it brought home to us that we need to pay attention to how we live in the community. It's the triumph over the pandemic and climate change is the triumph of the communal over the individual. Goes for energy, goes for health, communal and individualism. It's a new agenda catch the wave. And what did we learn? We learned that governments must lead. Governments must be holistic in that leadership. It can't be just a hotspot. The private sector depends on government regulation to maximize participation in the sustainability journey. I heard Boris Johnson this morning said the vaccination in UK was because of capitalism and greed. Actually, someone once said the only thing worse than being exploited by capitalism was not being exploited by capitalism. So actually, the private sector has an important role. Government has an even more important role in regulating and getting the benefits from that system, from that investment. And society moves from individualism to communal perception, self-awareness, and action. Catch the wave. We're all in this together. That's my journey with district cooling and this important piece of the jigsaw puzzle in Bahrain's energy equation. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dominic. It was quite revealing to see the 3 case studies which you have presented. One was from Awali Township, Babco Township. The other one was Tabrith World Trade Center and Bahrain Financial Harbor District Cooling Plant, and the Paragon Utilities Bahrain Bay District Cooling Plant. That was quite revealing. Thank you very much.